The snowstorm screamed across the frozen plains like a wild beast. Gavin Trent stood near the edge of a broken satellite dish, wrapped in his heavy survival coat. The sky above was dark, filled with swirling flakes. His gloved hands worked fast, fixing the old receiver. Static buzzed through the headset until a whisper cut through the noise. "Human, please. My milk won't come. We're starving." Gavin froze. He looked around. The wind howled, but the voice had been real. Weak. Female. Desperate. "Who is this?" He spoke into the mic. No answer, only soft static. Then a small sob. Without wasting a second, Gavin grabbed his pack, slung his plasma rifle across his back, and followed the signal coordinates. His boots crunched over deep snow as he moved across the white wasteland. He had been alone on this dead outpost planet for months, guarding what was left of a once thriving station, now buried under ice and time. The coordinates led him to a hill of snow near the cliffs. He paused. Something metallic poked through. The frost. A shipno. A pod. A life pod, half buried and smoking. It must have crashed hours ago. He rushed forward, brushing snow off the cracked glass. Inside, two shapes. One adult, one tiny. Gavin smashed the emergency release. The door hissed and opened slowly. Freezing air spilled out, biting his face. Stepped inside. A female alien lay against the back wall. Her skin was pale purple, covered in frost. Her long silver hair stuck to her face.
Ow.
In her arms, a small bundle of baby wrapped in thin cloth, crying softly. The woman looked up, barely awake. Her lips trembled. "Human, help her." Gavin knelt beside her. "I've got you. I'll get you out, both of you." She shook her head weakly. "No. Save my daughter. Feed her. My body." It failed. Gavin gently touched the infant. The baby was freezing cold, her small arms limp. He took off his gloves and held the baby close to his chest, letting his body heat pass to her. "Don't talk," he said. "I'm getting you warm." The alien mother coughed, blood staining her lips. "I tried to nurse her, but my milk is gone. I haven't eaten in days." "Where's your crew?" "Dead, my mate was a warrior. Pirates shot our ship down. Life pod ejected. But alone. I crashed." Gavin wrapped the woman in a thermal blanket from his pack. He poured a few drops of warm water into her mouth. She coughed again, but her eyes softened. Seeing her baby stop crying for the first time. "You're different," she whispered. Gavin raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean, they told us? Humans are cold, selfish, but you came." He looked down at the baby, now resting against his chest. Her small eyes blinked open, soft silver like her mother's. "What's her name?" he asked. "Zari?" Gavin smiled slightly. "All right, Zari, let's keep you alive." The mother watched as her child stopped shivering. She looked so fragile, and yet for a second she looked peaceful. "You're her only chance," the mother whispered again. "She needs warmth, milk, care." Gavin looked at the freezing wasteland outside the pod. "There's an old bunker not far. I have heat, maybe some food she can take." The woman nodded, but her eyes were heavy. "If I don't survive, promise me you'll save her." Gavin met her gaze. "I promise." She gave a slow, weak nod, then closed her eyes. He worked fast, strapping the baby to his chest using his coat. He gently lifted the mother out of the pod. She was lighter than expected, half-starved. He carried both of them through the storm. Wind slammed against him, snow burned his skin. But he didn't stop, step after step, till the entrance to the hidden bunker appeared like a shadow through the snow. The door creaked open. He blasted out. Inside, the old generator still hummed. He laid the woman on a soft cot, covered her in blankets, then sat by the fire pit, holding the baby close. He took out an emergency nutrient tube and carefully touched a drop to the baby's lips. She licked its hand slowly, started sucking. The mother stirred. Her lips moved. She's eating." Gavin looked over. "Yeah, she's a fighter. She smiled weakly. So are you. Zari shifted again, snuggling tighter against his chest. Gavin didn't expect what happened next. The baby latched onto his shirt right above his heart like she thought he was her real parent. He didn't move. He just let her stay. Then the woman spoke again so softly he almost missed. Your kind, might be the only hope for our kind. Gavin sat still, staring into the fire. Outside, the storm screamed louder, but inside, a strange warmth had started to grow. Asterisk snow still lashed against the steel door of the mountain bunker. But inside, Gavin moved with steady purpose. The room was old and rusted, a forgotten relic from the war barely held together by backup power cells and patched walls, but it was warm. Warm enough to keep a fragile baby and her dying mother alive. For now, Gavin laid the baby down in a heated crate filled with soft rags and thermal padding. The little one stirred, letting out a small whimper before curling tighter into herself. Gavin sat back, wiping sweat from his brow. His pulse hadn't slowed since he left the crash site. The alien woman. Zari's mother rested in a cot across from the child. Her breathing was shallow, lips cracked. Gavin checked her vitals again with a portable scanner. Pulse was weak, temperature too low, but there was still life. That was something. She opened her eyes and looked at him. You stayed, she whispered, didn't. Really seemed like I had a choice, Gavin said, forcing a small smile. You kind of dropped out of the sky and begged me to feed your daughter, I meant. Humans usually don't stay, he didn't reply. The truth was, he didn't know why he was doing all this. Maybe it was the sound of the baby's cry. Maybe it was the way the woman clung to her even as she froze. Or maybe it was the loneliness that gnawed at him every night on this dead planet. Either way, he was here now. The child stirred. Again, letting out a soft cry. I tried feeding her, he said, but she barely took the formula. Your biology's different. What does she need? The woman coughed softly. My milk. It's made to match her blood. Anything else? Could kill her slowly. Gavin frowned. Then we need a substitute. Something biological. Something close. To your own chemistry, there is nothing, she whispered, less he leaned closer. Unless what? She looked away for a moment. Her face flushed a darker shade of purple, almost embarrassed. Our people. When a female fails to feed, and there is no mother available, sometimes a male of another race is used. If his body accepts the bond, the child will survive. If not, hold on, Gavin interrupted, blinking. You want me to what, nurse her? No, she said quietly. Just hold her. Share heat. Skin contact. Proximity can trick her senses. She might feed from you even if there's no milk. And if your body reacts, nutrient glands can form. He stared at her like she was mad. But the baby's whimper cut through the air. Again, you're serious. She already tried. In the pod. You didn't feel it. He looked down at the marks on his chest where a tiny mouth had tried to latch. That was instinct, he muttered. Does it know what I am? She thinks you're hope, the mother said. He sat back, sighing hard. This was insane. He wasn't a parent, he wasn't even a medic. But the child's cries were getting softer. Now not weaker in volume, but in strength. She was tiring. Losing energy, Gavin stood, removed his jacket, and stepped toward the heated crate. He picked her up gently, pressed her against his chest again, skin to skin. She shifted, and then latched. There was no pain, just a strange pulling warmth that spread across his chest. His body tensed, then relaxed. The baby suckled gently, not for milk, but for comfort, for heat, for connection. And she stopped crying. Across the room, her mother watched with wide eyes, a tear sliding down her frozen cheek. She's bonding, she whispered. Feels like she's trying to eat my heartbeat, Gavin muttered. She's choosing you. He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Minutes passed. Gavin stayed still. Then he noticed something else. In his scanner. A sudden shift in temperature. What's this? He said, glancing at the screen. The temperature inside the room had risen slightly, but steadily. Not from the heaters, from him. The baby had triggered something in his system. His body was adjusting, reacting. Cells were activating that hadn't done anything in years. He looked back at the alien woman. "What did you say about my kind being her kind's only hope?" She closed her eyes. "Our bodies are failing. Our ships don't last. We're scattered. But our children, they adapt. They need warmth. They need bondmates from other races. You are different from what we expected. You didn't walk away. Didn't get the memo, I guess." The woman smiled faintly, then winced. Her body shook with a violent cough. Gavin rushed to her side. "You can't go," he said quickly. "You're her mother. She needs you too. You're her future now," she whispered. "But if I survive, I will serve your life in return." Gavin looked at her. "What does that mean?" She didn't reply. Her eyes fluttered shut. Suddenly, a soft alarm beeped from the corner panel. Motion sensor. He turned. Heart tightening. A heat signature large was moving toward the bunker, and it wasn't human. He stood, shielding the child, and watched the monitor screen flicker. Something was coming through the snow, and it was not alone. Asterisk. The motion sensor blipped again. Then again. Something was getting closer too fast to be a drifting animal, too heavy to be just snow shifting. Gavin stared at the screen. Blurry thermal shape moved through the snow, huge and slow, like a crawling nightmare. The bunker walls vibrated slightly, as if the earth itself feared what was coming. Asterisk. He wrapped Zari tighter against his chest and set her in a cradle of warm cloth near the heater. She whimpered softly, but stayed quiet. Then he crossed to the other side of the bunker, lifted the emergency hatch under the floorboards, and pulled out a dusty rifle, the same one he'd last used during the border skirmishes 5 years ago. A human-made plasma repeater. Old tech, but it could still burn a hole through a truck. Another beep, now closer. He moved to the periscope tube near the ceiling and turned the lens toward the slope outside at first. All he saw was white, then dash movement A. Long tail, covered in icy scales, dragging behind a massive body. Spikes shimmered along its back. Its head looked like a shark and bear smashed together, rows of teeth. Frozen mist puffed from its nostrils. Storm drake, he muttered. He'd read about them. No eyes, no ears. They hunted by warmth, and they could smell body heat through walls. One had taken down a dropship near Sector 11 a decade ago. If it smelled the baby, or her mother, or him, Gavin shut the periscope. Slowly, quietly, he turned to the alien woman still half unconscious, her breath raspy. "We've got company," he said softly. "And it's the worst kind." Her eyes fluttered open. "It followed me," she whispered, panicked. "It hunts crash survivors. It remembers our scent. So you brought it here." Her eyes filled with fear. But he held up a hand, "Not blaming you. Just means I've got work to do." Gavin moved fast. He checked the outer seals on the door, weak, reinforced only by rust and memories. The drake could smash through it like a toy if it got angry. He needed to draw it away. He strapped on a heat-packed vest and tucked an old energy core inside. Then he took one last look at the child, sleeping, calm, against the heater. He turned to the alien woman. "If I don't come back, you must. That's not up to me." He opened the side hatch low to the ground. Behind the bunker and slipped out into the storm. Wind slapped him across the face like knives. Snow swallowed his boots with every step. He moved quickly through the valley, using the heat core too. Leave a trail like a warm breadcrumb path for the drake. He stopped on the ridge and turned. A shadow moved below. It had followed, the storm drake's massive body crushed. The snow, as it sniffed along the trail, it didn't roar, it didn't snarl. It simply moved with the patience of something that knew everything else. Would freeze before it did. Gavin waited until it got close. Then he threw the heat core into the far canyon and hit the trigger. The core exploded in a flash of white heat. The drake turned, instantly chasing. Sudden fire. Gavin exhaled in relief. Then the wind changed, and the drake turned its head back toward him. Its nostrils flared. It knew. He was real, warm, alive. The core had been a trick, and now it was angry. The beast roared along, low bellow that echoed through the canyons. Gavin didn't wait. He ran down the slope, across the flats, toward the old mining tunnel he'd passed years ago, barely holding up against time. He ducked inside just as the beast's claws swiped through the snow. Where he'd been, the tunnel shook. Dust fell. The roof wouldn't hold forever. But inside it was dark cold, a place where heat vanished. Maybe that would work. He sat still, not moving, not breathing hard, just letting his heat fade into the shadows. The drake followed slowly into the cave. Steam hissed from its mouth. Its tail knocked ice off. The ceiling, Gavin didn't dare lift his weapon. It sniffed once. Then again, then slowly, it turned. It left. Minutes passed, then silence. When Gavin finally crawled out of the tunnel, his fingers were numb. His coat was torn, but the beast was gone. He limped back to the bunker through the storm. Every step felt like fire in his legs. He reached the door. Inside, the baby was crying again, but not in fear. In hunger, the alien woman reached for him. As he entered, her voice cracked. "You came back?" "Of course I did," he whispered, falling to his knees. Zari latched onto his chest again, like she'd been waiting. Then a new sound filled the air, a faint crackle, static, a voice female. Human echoed from the radio. "This is Scavenger Unit 8. We're picking up movement on the surface. Repeat, movement on the surface. Prepare for contact." Gavin's eyes narrowed. They weren't alone anymore. And this time, it wasn't just monsters. Asterisk, the storm outside hadn't stopped, but inside the bunker, something colder settled. Silence. It's not the silence of peace, but the sharp, waiting kind, like a breath held too long. Gavin sat by the fire pit again, Zari curled in a warm blanket against his chest. Her tiny breaths were slow, peaceful, but her mother's were shallow and uneven. He checked the monitor again. The thermal blur of the storm drake was gone. But that voice on the radio, that hadn't been an accident, it wasn't a passing ship. It was a crew. Human. Scavengers. "This is Scavenger Unit 8. We're picking up movement on the surface. Repeat, movement confirmed. Preparing for descent." Zari's mother stirred on the cot, her voice little more than a whisper. "No, not them. Not now." "You know who that is?" Gavin asked, standing and checking the side doors. "Lock." She nodded weakly. "They followed my pod. They hunt for us. They find survivors, then sell them." Gavin clenched his jaw. "Slavers. They won't leave without me." Zari. He looked back at the screen. A sleek, dark shape entered the sky, piercing through the storm clouds like a needle black. Metal, red engines. It was a scavenger dropship. Quiet, fast, and deadly. It landed about a kilometer out. Near the wreckage of her life raft, then came movement. Two figures in cold suits and long rifles stepped into the snow. Scanning the area, Gavin moved fast, secured the bunker door, activated the old jamming. Field barely working, but enough to block casual scans, and hid Zari's cradle beneath a thermal tarp. Zuri whimpered. "She," he said, holding her gently. "No sound now, kiddo." A loud knock came from outside. He froze. Another knock, then a voice. Cheerful, too cheerful. "Hello, this is Lyra Kane, independent salvager. We picked up an emergency signal. Anyone inside?" No response. The voice turned more casual. "We're not here to hurt anyone. We just want to help. There's a bounty for rescue operations, you know." Gavin grabbed his rifle. He didn't believe in coincidences, and he definitely didn't believe in helpful. Salvagers who showed up minutes after a drake fled. The door shook again, louder this time. "I'm coming in," she called, more firm now. "You don't want us to think this place is abandoned." Gavin took a deep breath, unlatched the inner seal, and opened the door halfway. Snow blew in, and with it, a woman. Slim build, bright red jacket, goggles over sharp blue eyes. She smiled when she saw him. "Well," she said, stepping inside, like she owned the place. Didn't expect someone still breathing out here. Gavin said nothing, but he didn't lower his gun either. She took off her gloves, warming her hands. We picked up an emergency cry for help. Some alien voice: milk, gone dry, baby starving. You get that too? I found them first, Gavin said flatly. Her eyes flicked past him. Them, just the mother and child, she said. Sounding curious? Are they alive? They're recovering. She took a step forward. Mind if I check them out? I've got medical experience. No, as the air grew heavy. I'm not leaving them with you, Gavin said coldly. They're under my protection. Lyra raised her eyebrows, smiling again, but it didn't reach her eyes. All right then, she said. But just so you know, I've got 2 men outside and they're not very patient. Gavin kept his grip on the rifle. They try coming. In here, they'll meet the wrong end of a plasma shot. I'd rather not fight, she said with a sigh, sitting on the edge of a table. Look, Gavin, can I call you that? I didn't give you my name. Oh, I know a lot about you, she replied, tapping her wrist gum. Ex-military, stationed out here after the war, been alone a long time. Makes sense you'd get attached. She looked at the corner of the room where the child was hidden under the tarp. Is it really worth it? She asked. You give us the alien and the kid and we walk? And hey, maybe we slip you a few credits. For your time, you can go back to playing hermit. Gavin stepped between her and the child's cradle. You don't touch them. She stood slowly, her eyes narrowed. You'd fight your own kind? For one of them? Gavin's voice didn't waver. Every time, Lyra tilted her head, then smiled cruel this time. You just made this personal. Suddenly, her cum crackled. He's stalling, a voice said. Should we breach? Gavin raised his rifle. Try it. Lyra tapped her cum again. Hold position. She looked at Gavin, then to the cot where Zari's mother stirred weakly, her eyes barely open. She won't last the night, Lyra said. And you'll be left with a baby you can't feed. What then, soldier? You gonna breastfeed it? Gavin didn't move, didn't blink. Then the baby made a sound, soft gurgle. Lyra's eyes lit up. Ah, so she's here. But before she could step forward, something buzzed in the bunker, an old long-range beacon, long dormant, suddenly blinking. Gavin turned to look, so did Lyra. What the hell is that? She asked. The screen flashed. Incoming transmission. Human vessel Courage's echo. Frigate orbit confirmed. Signal received. Emergency broadcast from Outpost 4. Lyra's face lost its smirk. Gavin's didn't. He looked her in the eye. Help's arrived. Lyra slowly stepped back toward the door. I guess this conversation's over. Gavin kept the rifle steady. You tell your crew to leave. I will, she said almost cheerfully. But next time, you might not be so lucky. She vanished into the snow. Gavin sealed the door and locked every bolt tight. Behind him, the baby cooed again. And outside, high above the clouds, a human warship roared into silent orbit, watching everything. The bunker was quiet, but Gavin knew that silence was not safety. Outside, in the white chaos of the storm, Lyra was regrouping. He'd seen that kind of face before, the kind that smiled while planning something cruel. He glanced at the cum screen again. The signal from Courage's echo was real. A human warship, military grade, still active. It had received his emergency pulse. No voice answered yet. Only the blinking green light and the words signal locked, awaiting response window. They'd heard him, but they were far. He had minutes, maybe less. The alien woman, Zari's mother, was now sitting up with effort, her back against the wall. Her skin still looked pale and weak, but her eyes had returned. Stronger, sharper. She'd heard everything. She will return, she said quietly. She won't give up. Not while we live. Gavin nodded. It was already dragging crates and storage panels across the bunker's entry tunnels. Tennel setting traps, preparing fallback plans. Every second ticked like a countdown. She's smart, he muttered. But I'm smarter. You risk your life. For a child that's not your blood? He stopped, turned Zara. I was asleep again near the heater, curled in a ball under her. Mother's robe. I don't care what her blood is, Gavin said. She's innocent. She's cold. She's hungry. That makes her mine. The mother blinked slowly. In our culture, saving a child binds you to her for life. You are called a heart shield, a protector bound by soul. He smiled faintly. We have something like that too. We call it being human. The room shook. Gavin grabbed the rifle and checked the monitor. 2 heat signatures, now one larger than Lyra. He recognized the shape. An assault mech, probably stolen, old model, human built. Big gun, big steps, no soul. Lyra's voice came through again, but this time on loudspeaker projected through the snow. Gavin, she called, her voice echoing through the valley. You had your chance. Give us the alien and the baby, or we tear that bunker apart, piece by piece. Gavin keyed his mic and responded flatly. Come and try. Lyra laughed. I admire the fire soldier, but I came prepared. The moment she said it, a loud thump shook the walls. Gavin ran to the side window and peeked out. The mech was there 10 feet tall, legs like hammers, arms loaded with pulse cannons. It moved slowly, but its weapons didn't need speed. Zer. I began to cry again, sensing the pressure in the air. Gavin crossed the room fast, picked her up, held her close. The alien mother reached out. Give her to me, he hesitated. You need your hands free, she said. You must fight. I must protect. Gavin handed her over. The moment Zari touched her, the crying stopped. He stood, gripping the rifle. The first shot hit. The outer blast door dented inward. Dust shook from the ceiling. Second blast nearly tore the hinges off. Sparks flew from the edges. Come on, Gavin whispered. He pressed a button near the wall. Old war systems lit up across the screen turrets that hadn't fired in years. Minds that hadn't seen light since the last evacuation. One by one, they came to life. Turret 1. Online Turret 2. Online ground mines. Armed emergency beacon, still awaiting RSPO and SI. Then, he heard it a distant hum, above the clouds. Faint, but growing. Not the mech, it's not Lyra. Something bigger. Do you hear that? The alien mother asked. Her voice shaking, Gavin stepped to the periscope. He saw nothing but clouds. Then lightning cracked the sky. And from the mist, shadow descended. No, not a shadow, shape. Long, sharp, silent. The Courage's echo had arrived. Massive engines thrummed like thunder. It didn't fire. It didn't announce itself. It simply hovered watching. Gavin keyed the mic. Warship above. This is Gavin Trent. Hostile scavengers are attacking my coordinates. I'm sheltering a mother and child under threat of being sold. I pause. Then, a voice, mail.com. Deep. This is Commander Hal Rowan of Courage's Echo. Situation acknowledged. Stand by, Gavin smiled. But then Lyra's voice returned. You think your friends up there scare me? They're not allowed to fire unless fired upon. She was right. The laws were strict. Military vessels couldn't engage civilians first, unless a human life was endangered. Gavin lifted the mic again. Commander, I'm about to give you the legal reason you need. He opened the inner blast doors, stepped outside. The cold bit into his skin like knives. Lyra stood on the ridge with 2 scavengers behind her. The mech beside her powered up again, its cannon glowing. She looked almost sad. You could have lived, Gavin. He raised the rifle. Yeah, but not with myself. She raised her hand to signal the mech to fire. That's when the sky roared. Boom. The warship dropped a flare-red fireball that cut the clouds apart. Its cannons aimed downward, and then came the sound of 1,000 beacons going off at once. A global override signal. Civilians in combat gear, heat weapons, engaged with intent to harm. Law bypass triggered. Gavin didn't have to shoot, because Courage's Echo already had. A streak of white energy cut across the sky, striking the mech, slicing it apart like paper. The blast lit up the valley. Lyra screamed, diving for cover, but the ground around her exploded. When the dust cleared, only one figure still stood outside. Gavin, his coat torn, his face covered in snow, his rifle still in hand but untouched by fire. Inside the bunker, Zari let out a soft laugh, and far above, the warship turned slowly, casting its shadow over the mountains like a silent promise. No one touches what humanity protects. Asterisk, the smoke hadn't cleared, but the silence had. Returned. This time, it wasn't empty, it was earned. Snowflakes drifted slowly down again, dancing around broken steel and melted ground. The shattered remains of the scavenger mech steamed in the frozen dirt. Lyra was gone, dragged away by what remained of her men, blood trailing behind them. Their cries swallowed by the storm. Gavin stood still, shoulders squared against the cold, his rifle slack in his hands. He didn't chase them. He didn't need to, because high above, Courage's echo hovered like a silent god, its weapons still warm, its gaze fixed on the ground below. A voice came through the comcomer now. "This is Commander Rowan. Target. Threat neutralized. Outpost safe. Medic shuttle inbound. Confirm safety of child and mother." Gavin keyed the mic slowly. His voice cracked from frost and fire. "Child and mother alive. Situation controlled. But we're not just survivors. We're family now." There was a pause. Then Rowan replied, his tone heavier. "Copy that. You did well, Sergeant." Inside, the bunker warmth flickered gently from the generator's old core. Zari lay curled in her mother's arms, asleep, her tiny mouth sucking quietly on a nutrient strip. Gavin had managed to synthesize with the ship's aid. The alien woman still, unnamed to him, was awake, though barely. She looked at him across the room, eyes full of something deeper than thanks. He stepped toward her, crouched by the cot. "You both okay?" She nodded weakly. "You saved us." Again, Gavin gave a half-smile. "Well, I didn't do it alone. Big gunship helped?" "No," she said softly. "That ship came because you called, because you stood." She reached out, placing a hand gently on his. "We are yours now, bound by life." Gavin didn't pull away. He let her hand rest on his, warm and trembling. "I still don't know your name," he said. She blinked slowly. "Valari," he nodded.
Valari.
Zari stirred, made a small giggling sound in her sleep, and reached toward him even in her dreams. "She chooses you," Valari whispered. "She bonded in her first hour. That cannot be undone." He looked at the baby, then back at Valari. "I didn't ask for this," he said quietly. "I know," she replied, "but sometimes the stars choose for us." Before he could answer, the alarm buzzed softly. A ship was descending, small, fast, medical shuttle. It landed near the edge of the ridge, careful not to disturb the wreckage too much. Two medics in white coats and black exosuits approached the bunker. Gavin stepped out to meet them. "Sergeant Trent?" one of them asked. "Yeah, we're here for extraction. Commander said to give you full authority on evac protocol." He nodded. "There's a mother and child inside. Non-human. They stay with me. No scans, no labs. You treat them as protected under Article 7. The medics exchanged a glance. "Yes, sir." Inside, they moved with care. Valari was lifted into a med bed, with gentle hands, Zari resting quietly on her chest. Gavin followed behind, never more. Then a step away. As they entered the ship, Valari looked around in awe. "It's warm." Gavin smiled. That's the first thing people notice. One of the medics watched Gavin closely, then whispered to him when Valari slept. "She's not just grateful, is she?" Gavin raised a brow. "What do you mean? I mean, she claimed you." "I've seen that look before, on colony worlds. Some species form life pairs during trauma. It's not just culture. It's biology." Gavin's face stayed neutral. "That baby needed saving. She needed warmth. I gave both." The medic nodded. "Just be ready. If you stay with them, you might not be returning as just a soldier." He turned and walked away. Gavin sat beside Valari's medbed. Zari stirred again, letting out a soft hiccup. He gently lifted her into his arms and held her close. Valari opened her eyes, just enough to see. You accepted her, she whispered. I guess I did. Then you must accept me too. We are one now, that's our way. I'm still human, he said quietly. You're more than that now. For the first time, Gavin didn't argue. Later, the ship lifted into orbit. They passed the broken clouds and entered the blackness of space, where stars stretched across the sky like endless sparks of hope. From the window, Gavin saw the curve of the frozen world below, the distant lights of Courage's echo hovering. Above, he held Zari gently, while Valari's fingers rested over his. This wasn't the life he'd expected, but it was the one he'd earned. And somewhere, deep in his heart, Gavin, Trent the soldier, who once chose silence, began to believe that maybe, just maybe, this was where he truly belonged. But the peace didn't last long. The ship's console lit up suddenly. Red flash. Incoming alert. One of the medics stood. Sir, we've just intercepted a message from a pirate fleet. They've picked up the same life pod distress signal, and they're angry someone else got to it first. Gavin stood, eyes hardening. Lorraine turned her head toward him. Will they come for us? He nodded once. Yes, but this time, I'll be ready. Asterisk alarms pulsed across the walls of the medical shuttle, flashing red as the message played again, to whoever stole our property from the frozen world, return the alien female and the child immediately, or be hunted. You've made enemies in deep places. The pilot's face turned pale. Sir, he said to Gavin, they're tracking us. The pirate fleet is 5, jumps out. They push their warp drives, they'll reach us within hours. Stared at the message. Then at the medbed where Valari lay holding Zari close to her chest. He stepped into the command bay. I need a direct line to Courage's echo, said the pilot, hesitated. They're in silent orbit, but I'll try to hail them. Zari made a soft cooing noise, oblivious to the danger forming around them. Valari looked up with eyes that no longer held fear. If they come for us, she whispered, they'll try to tear us apart. Gavin nodded. Let them try. A moment later, a voice filled the cabin. Commander Rowan, sharp and calm. Trent, I assume you've heard the threat. I've got it on repeat. Gavin replied. They're not bluffing. No, they aren't. And your shuttle isn't armed. Then I need more than a ride. I need a fight. There was a pause. Then Rowan spoke again. There's something you should see. The ship veered gently, the windows darkening then, lighting up again as the shadow of Courage's echo shifted overhead. And behind it, for more ships, different sizes, different shapes, all human old Earth command vessels. Long thought lost or disbanded now, awakened by the emergency signal Gavin had sent from the outpost. This isn't just your battle anymore, Rowan said. We've seen the data you sent. The child, the bond, the truth. Pirates are hunting that baby, and they're not just hunting you. They're trying to destroy the first peaceful cross-species union ever recorded in this sector. Gavin's breath caught in his throat. This isn't a rescue, Rowan added. This is history. In the medbay, Valari slowly stood, still weak but upright. Her arms around Zari, she walked toward Gavin and stood beside him, her hands slipping into his. We'll face them together, she said softly. The console blinked again. Enemy fleet, 3. Jumps out a younger crewman called out from the back. Sir, the pirates are broadcasting something else. It's personal. Rowan allowed it to play. We know the human who took her. Gavin Trent, you've broken our market. Broken the silence. We'll burn your bloodline into the black. Gavin's jaw tightened. I don't have a bloodline, he said, eyes locked on the stars. Flare touched his hand. You do now? Time passed slowly after that. The combined fleet moved into position. 5 warships, human-built, engines humming with power, weapons primed. The pirates arrived not long after. 6 ships, jagged, rusted, held together with stolen parts and cruelty. They never gave their names. They only opened fire. The first blasts lit up the void like fireflies in a storm. Shields flared. Cannons roared. Missiles tore the dark apart. Inside the shuttle, Zari cried out. Not from fear, but from something deeper. Gavin held her against his chest. "She's scared," Valari whispered. "She feels everything." "I do too," Gavin replied. He moved to the airlock. "Where are you going?" Valari asked, rising to follow. Gavin paused. He looked back, hand on the door. "I was built for war, but I stayed behind because I thought peace wasn't mine to have." "And now?" she asked. He gave a soft, broken smile. "Now I've got something worth fighting for again." He stepped out, onto Courage's Echo. As he entered the warship, Commander Rowan met him on the bridge. "You sure about this, Trent?" "I've never been more sure." They stood side by side as the battle began, in full blasts, rocking the hull, explosions tearing across the stars. One pirate ship broke through the line, heading straight for the medical shuttle. Gavin grabbed the cum. "Don't let them touch that ship." Rowan nodded. "You have my word." The warship's cannons powered up, then fired a full spread of plasma bursts. The pirate vessel exploded in a wave of red flame. Silence followed, one by one. The other enemy ships broke off, fleeing into jump space. Leaving only wreckage behind, the battle was over. The silence this time was peace. Later, in the quiet medbay of Courage's Echo, Gavin sat beside Valari and Zari. The child clung to his finger, giggling softly. "You scared the galaxy today?" Valari whispered. He smiled. "Oh, good. Maybe they'll think twice before." Coming back, she placed a hand on his. "You chose us, even when it made you a target." "No," he replied. "I didn't choose you out of duty." "Then why?" "'Cause no one else did." She leaned her head against his shoulder. "We don't belong to anyone," she whispered. "You do now," he said. "To me and I, to both of you." Zari let out a soft sound, half laugh, half dash word. It almost sounded like Papa. Valari blinked, eyes wide. Gavin looked down at the baby girl, stunned. "She said it." Valari whispered. Gavin pulled them both into his arms. The stars outside burned bright. The war had passed, but something greater had begun. Not a rescue, not a battle, a family. And wherever they went next, whoever tried to stop them, one truth would remain: human or alien, love would win.